What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And in today's video I'm going to be doing a tournament for all 8 Spider-Man live action films. So this are all the films where Spider-Man is the lead character, so no Venom, and also it's live action, so not animated like Into the Spider-Verse. And this is just because there's 8 live action Spider-Man movies from the 3 franchises, so I just thought, you know what, why not do it now? The bracket is placed in seeding by Spider-Man 1 came first, so it's number 1. No Way Home came last, so it's number 8. Spider-Man 2 came second, so it's second. And Far From Home came 7th, so it's 7th, and so on and so on. And actually, yeah, wait, hold up. Okay, so I fixed that up because first place and fourth are supposed to be in the same matchup, and second place and third place are supposed to be in the same mat. I forgot to do that. Oh my. Okay, now the bracket should be good. So let's just get right into this. Now, this is purely my opinion. So if you disagree, you just leave your thoughts in the comments down below respectfully, of course. And yeah, let's just jump right to the first matchup. Now, this is a bad matchup for Spider-Man 1 because I think that No Way Home is... Oh, I mean, it's a really good film. Now, it might be just recency bias because I just saw it, but for me, I think Spider-Man 1 has always been overhyped just a little bit, maybe because of all the nostalgia that, the people growing up with the Raimi films felt. I mean, I feel like it's a good superhero movie, but it feels very generic in the broad scheme of things, and I know it created the template and all that, but right now, looking back on it 20 years later, it doesn't really hold up too well. Also, the CGI is pretty bad, and it starts a trend where in this Spider-Man universe, every final battle is I have to save Mary Jane. That's what happens. On the other hand, I feel like I even liked Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in No Way Home. Oh yeah, spoilers by the way. In No Way Home, better than I did in Spider-Man 1, and couple that with 5 different villains from different universes, including Green Goblin, which I like better in this movie too, coming in, as well as 2 other Spider-Man aside from Tobey Maguire, and you've got a really good movie along with also Doctor Strange is in this movie, and I feel like No Way Home is just such a big event, and it manages to hold that event up, not like Endgame where it just want to pay it off. No Way Home actually holds it together and makes a pretty good movie out of it with all of the spectacle and all of the people coming together. So I'm gonna have to give it to No Way Home. Okay, The Amazing Spider-Man versus The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I feel like this is not a question. It is obviously The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just too crowded because Sony wanted to, have multiple spin-offs of this movie where, we get a Sinister Six movie, and it was just way too much. Now, I am happy that we are getting an Amazing Spider-Man 3 or so. It's being reported because I really like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but it doesn't give it the edge because, the other movie also has Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in it. I feel like the relationship between Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy in both of these movies are really good, but really, what really sets it apart is that The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is a clear, straightforward story that doesn't have too many, subplots just going all over the place, while The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has just, so many subplots just going way over the place. We've got 3 villains. It's way too overcrowded. The 3 villains are bad. I mean, the one I like the most is probably Green Goblin, but that's only because it was because of Harry, not the actual villain Green Goblin. And then the Amazing Spider-Man 1, I mean, it had a decent villain in Kirk Connors, and I just feel like it tells a more streamlined Spider-Man story, and the plot makes a little more sense than The Amazing Spider-Man 2, so that's why it's going to get the nod here. Spider-Man 2 versus Far From Home, this is also an easy one for me. It's going to be Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is I would say it's the best movie from the Raimi trilogy by a wide margin. It does go back to the plot point of we gotta save Mary Jane in the final battle, but Doc Ock is a very, very, very good villain who's given a pretty good motivation. And just the conflict between with Peter in this movie, where he's conflicting between being Spider-Man, being Peter Parker. He wants, to have it all. He wants to have MJ, but he also doesn't want to have MJ because of the danger that she'd be in if she was his girlfriend, or if she was Spider-Man's girlfriend, that is. And I feel like the conflict in this movie, like the internal conflict in Peter Parker, is really, really well done. And on the other hand, Far From Home is just like, it's enjoyable. It definitely is enjoyable, but it's a movie that like gets worse the more you watch it. Where, when you first watch it, you don't really think about all the fine details of the plot, but when you look into it, like, it really doesn't make sense that Tony Stark would give his glasses to Peter Parker. Not like, why wouldn't he give it to Rhodey, his best friend? Also, like, Peter literally doesn't try, I guess, but I mean, he does nuke his whole class, and then he has to save his class from like the Stark drones that are coming in to kill everyone. So that happens in this movie, and just makes Peter Parker, and like, this movie in particular just makes Peter Parker pretty dumb, which I don't really like. Now, Mysterio was really, really cool and all, but I just feel like the plot doesn't really make too much sense, which is why I can't give it the nod over an amazing Spider-Man movie like Spider-Man 2. Okay, this is also a really, really easy one. Spider-Man 3, for me, is by far the worst movie in like all 8 of these, in all 3 of the Spider-Man franchises, and in all of the Spider-Man movies. It's just really, really bad. Venom in particular is really bad. Also, the dancing scenes with Tobey Maguire is just really cringy. And we also have too many villains here, where I feel like Sandman would have been fine along with Harry Osborn, but instead we had to cram Venom in because the studios demanded it, and I didn't really like that choice. Homecoming, on the other hand, is a really good high school movie that tells a high school story about Peter Parker. And then he's also Spider-Man, and then there is a great villain in this movie with Vulture. And a really good plot twist that, he's actually Peter's like homecoming partner's dad. So then, it causes some tension there in the car scene. And I feel like Tony Stark really just brings this movie up because he's just so likable. And it's really good to see that he's like, matured, and then he's actually trying to like teach Peter to actually be mature. So that is pretty good. And I mean, like, Homecoming like didn't even have to do anything right. It just didn't have to do anything wrong to beat out Spider-Man 3. And fortunately for it, it did do something right. Or it did do a lot of things right. So yeah, it beats out Spider-Man 3. Okay, now we got No Way Home versus The Amazing Spider-Man. And as much as I love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, it's got to go to No Way Home. I mean, Andrew Garfield was in No Way Home as well. So, it's even there, even though, Gwen Stacy wasn't in No Way Home, even though I wish she was, because, damn, that chemistry's really, really good. But yeah, as I said earlier, No Way Home is just an amazing superhero crossover event that is able to balance all the characters really well, and it just shows how much Marvel is like, how well Marvel does on these projects, because Sony tried it with Amazing Spider-Man 2 and look how well that worked out. Also tried it with Spider-Man 3, look how well that worked out. But yeah, No Way Home is just an amazing piece of cinema, and while I really like The Amazing Spider-Man 1, it's mostly because of the relationship between Peter and Gwen, and also Peter and Gwen's father. Not so much because, the final thing where, like, the lizard wants to turn everyone into lizards, it doesn't really make sense, because he has to keep injecting himself, right? So then, when they just all turn back, I guess he's relying on the fact that they just want to become lizards just like him, after he took it. But yeah, it doesn't really make too much sense. Also, I always wanted this, but didn't Spider-Man leave all of those cars hanging on the side of the bridge? I'm pretty sure he did. It just swung away after he saved one car, so that's pretty bad. Yeah, there are like a few oversights in this film that makes the plot like not make a lot of sense, even though it does make more sense than Amazing Spider-Man 2's plot. But I mean, the relationship drama really just propels it forward, but not enough to beat No Way Home. Okay, now this is a tough one: Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, this is really tough. So, Spider-Man Homecoming, as I said, is a great high school movie. And it just captures like all of the high school drama and feelings just so perfectly. And Spider-Man 2, yeah, I'm gonna go with Homecoming because I mean they both have great villains, so I feel like they just it's a wash there. But at least Spider-Man Homecoming, tries to divert from what you expect from the norm, whereas Spider-Man 2 just I mean, basically had the same final battle as Spider-Man 1, except for the stakes were raised higher. So, I don't know about that. I mean, all of the tension in Peter Parker and between MJ and Peter is great and all, but I mean, we have tension here between Peter and Tony, and also tension in Peter himself, where he wants to live up to Tony. But then he realizes that he needs to be a high school student at the end. And I mean, I just feel like Homecoming like does most of the things that that these two movies share better than Spider-Man 2, which is why I'm gonna have to go with Homecoming. But yeah, No Way Home wins. Easily No Way Home wins. No Way Home is like easily the best Spider-Man movie in my opinion. It's just so much fun to watch. The banter between all three of the Peters is really, really good. And also the banter between the villains. Like, in the dungeon scene, all the villains were just like blasting off jokes, making the audience laugh, and just lining it up. Also, like, the dramatic scenes where Aunt May dies were really, really well done. And this movie really just feels like it has consequences where, Peter Parker is basically just wiped off the planet. So there are major stakes in this battle, and Peter learns the values of, or the lessons of actually becoming Spider-Man, where with great power comes great responsibility, which is very interesting because he had two outings before this, and then now he's just learning it. And like looking back, we can actually see that it's clear that he actually isn't like a proper Spider-Man like the other ones are in his movie or in his movie, because he didn't get the with great power comes great responsibility line. And yeah, I just feel like No Way Home just does everything right, except for maybe the setup. The setup was a little shaky, but I mean, nothing can be perfect except for Captain America Civil War, alright? Nothing can be perfect. Okay, so anyways, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and if you guys did, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Too easy!